Breaking news. Arson suspects have been arrested for starting fires near Portland, according to the Portland Police Department. Now, why would the mainstream media, Facebook, and company want to censor information about this problem reaction solution event? Why? Because you might start connecting the dots between Antifa and the deep state. If they could start fires like this on the West Coast, maybe they engineered this pandemic as well. If they could start the fires that have smoked out the West Coast, maybe they released this virus to infect us all, ladies and gentlemen. And we've got a rogue Chinese virologist from Hong Kong University that escaped with her life, that reveals the stunning truth. We're going to be getting into that and so much more. Stay tuned, because you've tuned in to Stranger Than Fiction News. The big breaking news right now: cops are arresting people for arson around the country right now in this organized event. And they've been picking up people live streaming fires, pretending like they just stumbled upon the scene. They're like, wow, look at this. Arson live streamed. Suspects arrested. Back in the day when people attacked America, we would just kill them, ladies and gentlemen. Now the FBI and the news out there and the mainstream news and the socialist media platforms are covering up for these criminals. Within hours after being released for starting a bushfire in Portland using a Molotov cocktail, Domingo Lopez started 6 more fires along I-205. There's even more, ladies and gentlemen. Lots more to cover. You might be thinking to yourself, why a plastic bottle instead of a glass bottle? The longer burn, ladies and gentlemen. They wanted this to be a lantern. Arson arrest made in Phoenix. Monterey County deputies arrest arson suspect Ivan Gomez. This is not climate change. This is domestic terrorism, ladies and gentlemen. Arson arrest. A man is suspected of lighting 3 separate fires in Marin County, California. As you can see, I mean, they are arresting people everywhere for starting fires. It's not climate change. It's a coordinated attack, a deep state attack against the West Coast. That way they could come on TV and come be the heroes once again. They're going to save you from their climate change. They're going to save you from their virus. Forest fires on the West Coast are a coordinated and planned attack. This is from Law Enforcement Today. And, you know, we lost a channel on Facebook because of this story. They were ordered to take everything down associated with Antifa and these West Coast fires. Well, let's see here. Antifa are the anarchists setting fires to our cities. They're arresting Antifa-like people outside of the cities, burning things to the ground. And they want to censor that information, ladies and gentlemen. They're just like ISIS. They're burning the flag. They're chanting death to America. And you've got Facebook. You've got, you know, the FBI basically flying to the rescue of the Antifa. And you have to wonder. Portland rioter arrested for double murder. I mean, after seeing what's going on here, the Jay Bishop case, we saw 2 cops shot the other day in California. I mean, these people are the enemy. They're terrorists. They should be carpet bombed, you know, out of existence. What is this president waiting for to fight this insurgency of communists? It's like Red Dawn. They're here. The enemy is within the gates. Forget the Russians. We have to worry about the communists in California, the communists in Portland. And here, look, We and other chapters of Antifa around Oregon have collaborated to ignite fires around the state to draw attention to the climate emergency. You know, this is like the tweet just before the Boston bombings. There will be a controlled explosion across from the library in 10 minutes, and boom, there it was. April 15th. Marathon Monday. The Blaze reporter assaulted by BLM agitator. You know, and that's just basically it. You know, I'm not sure how many people saw the news clips from Compton, and they're all like, just like, oh yeah, they aired him out, bro. You know, just like that. Wow, man. It was like, we're dealing with some serious crackheads. We're testing out podcasts. If you're into the podcast thing, tell us what you think of the podcast on Anchor and the iTunes and Google Play and all of that. You should be able to find all of the links there. Test it out. Tell us what you think. Should we continue with the podcasts? Ladies and gentlemen, we're everywhere right now. But, you know, it's like whack-a-mole. We open up a page and it goes down. Peace process continues. Behind the scenes, we're seeing some huge movements in, tense parts of the world. And, of course, the president has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yesterday's enemies are tomorrow's friends. We've seen that time and time again. And the Secretary of State is busy as an envoy of peace throughout the world. It's rather nice to see, making a different stories every once in a while. What is this? You might think to yourself, what is this? What happened here? What's going on? Pay attention. We don't know. The dude just drops the keys. That's a sign. Here we got some covert action. Okay, sir, here are your keys. Now, there we go. I've got the info there. Takes a picture. What's going on? What kind of scam is that, ladies and gentlemen? Tell us what you think. We saw a movie, I think it was with Johnny Depp, where the computer takes over and builds this huge, field of, solar panels and the like to fuel its energy consumption. What is Google really, ladies and gentlemen? Abort Skynet before it's too late. You don't want to find out what that is. The smoke is changing directions. It's now heading for the Midwest. Beware, it's like the Blob, ladies and gentlemen. And as far as we can tell, they're not out of the woods yet. Looks like 3 or 4 more months of full-time smoke out there in the West Coast. Now's the time to move out there if you're looking for, a good deal on rent. People are fleeing the state. States have authority to fine or jail people who refuse coronavirus vaccine. So they've already laid down the groundwork for your detention if you don't accept their vaccine. And we think this vaccine is going to be some super bad news. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out, but it looks, worse and worse. CDC is confirming that masks don't work. Wearing cloth masks in public can help stop the spread of COVID, but cloth masks won't protect you from the small particles of smoke. And, there's a lot of smoke particles that are much larger than the virus, ladies and gentlemen. Another day in Mars. Now, these people were forced to work for 50 cents an hour, or a pound of whatever they're picking out there, no masks. And that reminds us, we saw another video. It looked really hellish too. We'll have to get into it. But it looked like firefighters were like right on the front line, no masks, no nothing. It was like late night, brush clearing. It was really bad. I mean, there's no telling what the long-term effects of these fires will be. The fires are a hoax, some people say, and even if they're not, they only kill a small percentage of people. You can't even trust those numbers. If someone dies from a heart attack while their house is burning down, that death is still counted as a fire death. Why take my rights away? for that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Communists, Antifa, burning down the country. Here, this is yet to be authenticated, but it looks like we may have some sleeper cells, terror sleeper cells, pretending to be firefighters. You can see they've got a can of a jerry can, what looks like gasoline. Now, that might be for the, for this thing here, the chainsaw, or it might be for something else. There they are, the criminals. This one too, pleaded guilty to felony first-degree arson. I mean, they're all a bunch of arsonists. Fires are erupting. They're taking the credit for it. They're getting busted. They got the whole look of the Antifa. And you've got the FBI and Fakebook that are just basically, no, it's not Antifa. What's the story, man? What's the story? We've been covering how COVID is rabies. The vaccine will be rabies too. And there's a lot of reasons to suspect the worst about this virus. This virus seems to work like the Moderna vaccine itself. Once in chronic hibernation mode, it produces viral RNA from a hidden virus reservoir. These proteins are not tested for in the PCR tests. So it looks like there's no infection. I'm not sure if you guys can see all of this, but essentially the PCR tests for just a real small part of, this RDRP and part of, looks like maybe the nucleocapsid. This little sequence of this, but it doesn't test for any of this. And there's no telling what's going on with the long haulers, ladies and gentlemen. Rogue Chinese virologist joins Twitter just hours ago, publishes evidence, bombshell evidence. And very interesting. We'll have to cover that in the next broadcast, the Yan report. Be sure to check that out. Now, this is kind of creepy. I'm not sure if the volume is going to come through here.
That science is going to be key. Because if we ignore that science and sort of put our head in the sand and think it's all about vegetation management, we're not going to succeed together protecting Californians.
It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually. Tom, please.
So, he knows the master plan, right? Trump let this virus in. He knows what's coming next, and it's the Deagle.com report. It's the mass extermination. You're not going to have to worry about climate change once they're done with Event 201, with Agenda 21, ladies and gentlemen. And the evidence shows that SARS-CoV-2 is a laboratory product derived from ZC45 or ZXC21. High odds severe COVID can lead to kidney injury or failure. Here's the quote: the next epidemic will be chronic kidney disease in the U.S. among those who recovered from coronavirus. And it's not just the kidneys. It's, the next epidemic will be heart disease. The next epidemic will be like brain damage disease, mad cow disease. The next epidemic will be a whole bunch of different types of cancers and other diseases who have recovered from the coronavirus. This is a doomsday virus, and it's going to weed people out and make it kind of look like natural causes, just like the other, silent weapons programs. This study from Rome showed the overwhelming majority of hospitalized patients were still struggling with symptoms 60 days out. Now, the problem with the statistics right now is that they're not following up with the people that are testing positive or negative at all. And so, the numbers are definitely going to be higher than that. We expect that virtually everyone will be feeling chronic COVID symptoms, mostly fatigue and headache, but it'll come and go with each passage of the virus after reinfection or relapse, but most likely reinfection. People are certainly relapsing too, but they're getting reinfected so often that, you know, they're going to get hit with like a new wave of it every couple of days. But, you know, you could discuss that for quite some time. Even kids are suffering with long-term COVID complications. We're hearing more and more reports about that. Kids aren't feeling the same. Maybe it's the masks. Maybe it's, you know, the anxiety, the placebo effect. But, you know, a lot of people are talking about it as if it's, you know, real. And I'm pretty sure that fatigue really isn't like the very best description of it. But it's like getting wiped out, like with mononucleosis or glandular disease, as they call it in the British republics or British slave Commonwealth colonies and the like. Videos of Biden touching young girls flagged as child sex exploitation by Twitter. People are getting banned and blocked for sharing creepy Biden videos. And, you know, they're going to call it like, you know, whatever. But essentially, they just don't want that information out there. And so the window on free speech has closed for the time being. Kim Jong-un's draconian COVID-19 crackdown in Australia exposes some deep-seated corruption. And this is a very nice little op-ed. Check that out. Latinos for Biden parade in Las Vegas today, and there was like nobody there. So yeah, you don't see a whole lot of pep on the Democratic side. You just have to wonder if anybody's going to even show up, or if they're just going to send in a bunch of, you know, ballots through, you know, harvesting or whatever. And yeah, I mean, doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of enthusiasm for the Biden side. ScrewTube, run by Google and company, views the corrupt World Health Organization as the definitive authority on COVID. Thus, information that goes against WHO must be censored. Google follows the Chinese government model on censorship when it comes to info that contradicts. You know, why does Google even exist as it does? Why does Facebook exist as it does? You'd have to ask Donald Trump, because he should have broken those things into a million pieces. Skynet, you know, the censorship, the works. Clouds of chlorine vapor rise into the sky after chemical-packed warehouse catches fire. Now, the worst thing about chlorine is that it hugs to the ground, so whatever's rising might not be the only thing drifting in the wind. You never know what's drifting in the wind. This is another example of a long-haul COVID patient, according to the BBC. Kids with severe permanent heart damage that seem asymptomatic. And, you know, that's probably the worst part of this disease is the stealthiness in which it attacks, not only, you know, with the airborne primary infection, but also the secondary chronic infection. Again, keep taking natural anti-inflammatories, you know, regularly enough, 3-5 times a week, you know, natural, kind of like oregano, eucalyptus, you know, burdock, artichoke, you know, turmeric, all that kind of stuff. Vary, you know, your regimen and don't overdose, of course. Consult your physician, all that good stuff. Post-COVID syndrome severely damages children's hearts. 9-month-old infant died from COVID, supposedly in Minnesota. And, you know, it may be the silent killer of, you know, of this century, beyond, you know, anything we've known so far. Look, at this stage, you really have to ask yourself, you know, why wouldn't this be a doomsday virus? Why wouldn't this be an airborne AIDS? And I think the more questions we ask like that, the closer we'll be to bringing these people to the guillotine, to justice. These people that are responsible for this pandemic. Keep asking the right questions out there. COVID linked to brain damage, ladies and gentlemen. Arson live streamed, brain damage, rabies apocalypse. I am legend. It's coming. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare for dark winter. We're going to have to leave it there for this broadcast. Breaking news, FBI, fake book, hardcore cover-up for the Antifa terrorist organization. And look, everybody can smell the civil war. This system is so corrupt, and you don't want libtards, dictating your future. You don't want libtards educating your children, molesting your children. You don't want libtards telling you what's right and wrong out there as they burn the Bible and, basically parade around, with two men plowing each other everywhere. You don't need that. You don't need them burning your flag. You don't need them burning your churches. You don't need these people, ladies and gentlemen. And they're a clear and present danger. These people are more the enemy than the virus, but they are the virus, literally. They are the virus. They release this virus. They themselves are viruses. And, Christianity is the cure. But, not every chapter in the Bible is all about conversion. Sometimes it's war. Sometimes, just got to do what you got to do out there to protect yourselves. And I think that's the big debate that we're all having right now. Which chapter in the Bible are we in? And, that's going to be for another broadcast. But essentially, we're all like Adam and Eve tending to the garden. And, we're all like Moses saying, let our people go. And, we all try to be like Jesus. And we know that, this system, this beast system is going to be tough on all of us. We're being persecuted. And, the persecution of Christians in the Roman Colosseum, that was, the 3rd century. We're supposed to, make the way straight for the book of Revelation, which is essentially, their utter destruction. So I think we should continue having a debate on, should we bring the guillotines or should we bring these people to some kind of conversion therapy? What should we do, ladies and gentlemen? Let us know in the comments. Till the next time, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.